The following video was shot in a magistrate's court, a court de facto, in order to expose what now passes for justice in the UK courts. For the sake of clarity, the following points of law need to be stated. There is no law that demands that a man or woman should have to pay council tax. There is only the 1992 Local Government Finance Act, which, being an Act of Parliament, can only be enforced with consent. This video is about exercising your right to stand under common law. This means not giving consent to a commercial court. All those assuming judicial authority have to swear an oath or attestation to serve the Queen and to uphold the law of the land, or common law. They have no authority to enforce commercial law, the law of the sea, unless you consent. They are obliged to honour their oath when requested, and produce evidence of their oath on demand. If they refuse, they dishonour the Queen and her oath to uphold the law of the land, and of course those who have sought to uphold and preserve the law of the land and customs and traditions of the country. As Stephen Barry was summoned to the magistrate's court.
Who are you, sir? I am a lay representative appointed by the agent for Mr. Stephen Barry, who's here with us today, sir. And with sir? Sorry? I'm a lay advisor, sir, appointed by the law.
You may not address the court, and I'm not addressing you, sir. Mr. Barry, here, please.
We claim common law jurisdiction, sir.
Mr. Barry,
Mr. Barry is here in the court, sir.
Mr. Barry, what are you saying?
Have you got your birth certificate?
Then the clerk stands up and abandons the court. This is Mr. Stephen Barry, a birth certificate, a piece of paper, in full view for the clerk and court to see.
No, has he abandoned the court?
The clerk had abandoned the court, then returns with the magistrates. This still shows the moment when the members of the public showed that they did not consent to the jurisdiction of a commercial court. This was shown by not standing up when the magistrates entered the room. The layman then made it clear that common law jurisdiction was being claimed.
Sir, with all due respect, we claim common law jurisdiction.
The layman repeatedly asks the magistrates if they are on oath. They do not honour their oath because they are purely there for issuing summary judgment for profit. In this case, for themselves, the council, and of course the commercial court.
We claim common law jurisdiction, sir. Leave court, please. I'll hand you away. Sir, you give on your own security to court number 1, please. Security to court 1. Sir, are you give on your own to remain? Stand, please. Those of you who are not ready to remain will leave the court for security, please.
The clerk again reverts to issuing orders to gain jurisdiction, but the public gallery and the layman stand their ground. Jurisdiction has again been denied.
Are you giving on your oath today? Are you giving on your oath today to leave? Sir, are you Stephen Barry? I'm the lay advisor and lawful lay informed Mr. Stephen Barry. Sir, I'm appointed to the line. We have no right to represent. First of all, everybody who's sitting will leave court, please. Everybody who's sitting will leave court, please. Will you please be quiet? No. Just be quiet. You can have to leave. You did walk in. You were standing when you walked in.
The magistrate is trying anything to get jurisdiction by assuming the layman is standing for the magistrates, which would give them jurisdiction. The clerk regains some honour by advising the magistrate the lay advisor was already standing, and standing under common law when the magistrates entered the court.
Sir, so you refuse to explain your oath, madam, sir? When we'll call possible, I have your oath. We call possible. Each this, and then everybody else is sitting. I apologize. I'm not going to leave it, Your Honour. The magistrates have ordered this man to move. The magistrates have abandoned the court, sir.
The magistrates have abandoned the court as they have not gained jurisdiction, and therefore have no authority, and neither does the clerk.
And I claim common law jurisdiction. I claim common law jurisdiction. I I'm asking you to go. I want you to get out. Will you go, sir? If I talk to me, I'll sue you for assault on the common law. Can you do that?
Yes, he can do that. The clerk fails to address the steward's question.
Are you coming out now? Yes or no? No, all policemen. There's all policemen. All constables. We want to come. We want to come.
The lay advisor repeats his request for a constable to be called to the court. The court clerk then advises that the police have already been called. This is not the case, as only a member of the public gallery had at this point called the police.
No, you may not. I warn you, I witnessed the magistrates order this man removed. And these people who are the magistrates not after their own. Dennis! Please don't touch me. Have you arrested me? Yes, please do. Please prove it. Stay in house. Please prove it. Yes, told us to stay in house. No? Well, he's got the authority to do that. He's no authority. I'm the jurisdiction. They have to do the law. I don't respect their jurisdiction. Do not touch it. Please don't touch it. You are not authorized to touch me. I do not consent to you touching me. Do you understand?
It is left to the stewards to do the clerk's dirty work. It appears that only now the court usher is calling the police. The lay advisor retrieves the birth certificate, Mr. Stephen Barry, the person that was summoned to appear in the court. The steward looks bewildered. However, he did the right thing by not using force. The steward makes peace with the lay advisor. A few minutes later, the police arrive. The constable listens as the lay advisor explains he has asked for the magistrate's oath and there has been no breach of the peace. The constable has been asked by the lay advisor to honour his oath, which he does. He is now upholding the law of the land and acting as a peace officer. The constable explains the situation to his men and asks them to stand down. However, the sergeant claims that the court belongs to the magistrates, which is untrue.
Common law offence is what I'm saying. Yes, it is. Okay. I need to prove, and I have a lawful right under common law to prove that the person who gave that order has the lawful authority to give that order by seeing their oath. Because in order to give an order in a court of law in this country, you must have sworn an oath. And in respect of you enforcing that order, because you would be then in breach of your right. Oh, please do so that. Yeah, no, and please don't take that first. I don't intend to.
All the officers in yellow are sympathetic to the lay advisor and honouring their duty to uphold the law.
I will leave with no violence or walk around the court, but obviously we will then take them.
Lay advisor asks for the written order from the magistrates to be produced before he leaves the court. Sergeant agrees and goes to get the order.
We respect as human beings.
20 minutes later, Sergeant returns without a written order. The sergeant keeps implying that the Law Society will investigate any grievance. The sergeant returned twice more, without the written order. Mr. Stephen Barry, the legal fiction, the birth certificate, is once again produced in court for and on the record.
For on the record, I placed Stephen Barry in front of the court. Okay, does anybody in this courtroom prepared to identify themselves as Stephen Barry? So Mr. Stephen Barry came to the court previously. For the record and on the record, okay? There's nobody in this room now who's Stephen Barry. Would you like me to bring Mr. Stephen Barry to the court, sir? And you call him one time at a time. Stephen Barry. Sir, I respect Mr. Stephen Barry court. Would you come to the court? I'm just getting the other hand on you. The officers, all these people who are not answering to them, Stephen Barry, did not stand when asked to do so, and I just took that as a mark.
The clerk asks for those who did not stand to leave or be removed. The constables honour their oaths by not responding to the clerk's orders.
This is Mr. Stephen Barry. He's a legal fiction created by you've been asking in court. Of course Stephen Barry. Mr. Stephen Barry in the court seat. But everybody on that side of the court... I'm content. Is that criminal content? Is that criminal content? Have you said anything like that? You hear the magistrate say, we have, the sergeant said a court order has been made, and I said I would like title to court order. Mr. Barry is in the court. He's been presented to the court. Thank you, sir. Who we say?
We are still waiting for the magistrates to produce a written order. However, time is money, and the council's solicitor, although being paid a small fortune, is getting restless. Her fee has been estimated at around £450. The hearing is to establish liability for £308.
I'm now recovering Mr. Stephen Barry on the floor. Sorry? This is Mr. Stephen Barry here.
Sergeant returns for the last time with no written order. Lay advisor asks once again for a written order. Yes or no would suffice, but Sergeant is still in full-on BS mode, as there is no written order.
Are you able to witness that I presented Stephen Barry before? That's Stephen Barry, he's the legal fiction.
Mr. Stephen Barry, the legal fiction, or birth certificate, is once again produced in court, for and on the record.
For on the record, I placed Stephen Barry in front of the court.
Once again, those in the public gallery, by remaining seated, deny the corporate court jurisdiction.
Stephen Barry, lay agent Stephen Barry is present in the court, represented by the legal fiction that was created for the 30th. The person, Stephen Barry, is that a legal person, sir? Sir, you do not appear to have responded to the court, so everybody who has been seated at the scene is member who's entitled to be here with respect to the rules of the court. Those members of the public there who are not standing, we please make any attempt to court. I'm asking you to leave the court. Sir, may I ask, is that I'm asking members of the public who are not standing to leave the court. They are questioners. You may not, you may leave. Is it contempt civil or criminal, sir?
The magistrate then throws in the old contempt of court chestnut, yet they still have no jurisdiction.
The court takes judicial notice that the magistrate will abandon the court. I am therefore the highest authority in the court, and because the magistrate will abandon the court, we dismiss the...
As the magistrates have abandoned the court for the third time and have never had jurisdiction, the lay advisor informs the court he is now the highest authority and leads the lay advisors out of the court. The only jurisdiction in the court was therefore common law, and the police constables honoured their oath. Case dismissed under common law.
No, don't be
The clerk and magistrates failed in all their attempts to get jurisdiction. The legal fiction appeared in court 3 times. The lay advisor remained in control of the court. The magistrates could not make a judgment and threw in the towel. The alleged offences committed by the clerk, solicitors, magistrates and counsel include conspiracy to defraud, fraud, obstruction, perjury, dereliction of duty, deception, treason and wasting police time. Whilst your associates informed me that you were present in court, it is unfortunate that you did not make yourself known to me or the court. Stephen Barry registered his name on arrival at court and was seen by 14 witnesses. Mr. Stephen Barry, legal fiction summonsed, was presented to the court on 3 occasions. This too was seen by 14 witnesses and also by you watching this film. This makes the counsel, solicitors and magistrates' testimony spurious, and if that's not bad enough, the hearing started at 12:30 as the clerk delayed the case for 2.5 hours. But the liability order was signed at 10 a.m. before the hearing. Yes, before the hearing. Judgment was passed before the case was even heard. Liability order in respect of council tax. Date 21st of January 2010, 1000 hours. Cumbraen Magistrates Court.